Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're digging into your sources to tackle a really interesting, maybe even uncomfortable question.
Oh,
Yeah, what if the very things we spend our lives chasing, ease, security, routine, familiar spaces, what if those are the things actually holding us back, stopping us from reaching our biggest potential?
it's a challenging thought,
Yep.
definitely, because we're sort of conditioned to see comfort as the prize, right?
Mhm.
The reward for hard work.
Exactly.
But our mission today, using your material, is to unpack this paradox of comfort.
Okay.
The sources are pretty clear, quite forceful, actually. They argue your comfort zone. It's often not the safe haven you think it is.
More like, what did they call it? An invisible cage?
That's the framing. An invisible cage. It's a strong image.
I think it's necessary, though, because when you feel stuck, your first thought is usually about external stuff, right?
That lack of money, lack of time.
Yeah, opportunities, whatever. But this material suggests the problem is often, internal. It's just that we're too comfortable.
Too comfortable to push through uh, the uncertainty that change always requires.
Yeah.
Precisely. If we're actually looking for growth, personally or professionally, the sources consistently point to friction. That's the catalyst.
Friction, not smoothness.
Right. So this deep dive, we're aiming to expose those hidden, maybe subtle ways that ease and familiarity stop us from reaching higher.
Okay.
We really have to start questioning this idea that a perfectly smooth, predictable life is the ultimate aim.
All right, so let's unpack that first part then. The invisible chains. Because when you say embrace discomfort, I think most people jump to extremes.
Like running a marathon or quitting your job tomorrow,
Yeah.
big stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But the sources we looked at, they emphasize it's not about grand suffering. It's more about the subtle everyday comforts, the ones that quietly let our drive just sort of wither.
Yeah, that's what really stood out for me in the research.
Mm.
The real damage isn't usually from some big dramatic failure. No, it's more like this low-grade hum of inertia, just staying put. Because success, historically, it's rarely about staying still, is it?
True.
It requires moving towards things, often voluntarily, that feel difficult or uncertain.
Okay.
And the sources paint this picture of modern life being almost engineered to remove the need for that kind of movement.
Which brings us to the specific saboteurs you mentioned. Like, think about your daily routine.
Mm-hmm.
The sources really challenge us here. Is that same commute route, the same lunch you always grab on Tuesdays, the same kind of show you watch every night.
Are those active choices?
Right. Are they intentional choices you made to, say, optimize your energy? Or have they just become automatic defaults, things you don't even think about anymore?
And they become defaults partly because the world around us is kind of engineered for maximum comfort systemically.
Systemic comfort traps. What does that look like?
Well, think about convenience apps, for instance. You barely have to walk anywhere or, talk to a stranger if you don't want to.
Okay.
Or maybe hyper-specialized jobs. You get really good, really rewarded for doing one narrow thing.
Which sounds good.
But it discourages you from stepping outside that box, trying something different within your own work even.
But hang on, isn't efficiency good? Like, if an algorithm helps me pick a movie faster, saves me time, or an app gets dinner delivered, how is that a cage? Where's the line?
That's the crucial question, right? And the sources draw a distinction. True efficiency should, theoretically, free up your mental energy for new challenges, things that matter.
Okay.
But what often happens instead is what you might call the efficiency of consumption.
Yeah.
Those algorithmic recommendations, for example.
Yeah.
They eliminate the messy, sometimes frustrating, process of discovery. You don't have to wrestle with choices anymore or stumble onto something unexpected on the fringes.
Okay.
And when the system rewards you for staying predictable, for liking what you liked before, eventually you lose the mental muscle, the curiosity needed to explore the unpredictable.
So the real danger here, the so what of this bit, it isn't that these comforts are bad in themselves. They solve problems, make life easier in some way.
Right. They're not inherently evil.
But their hidden danger is how they can numb our drive, our natural impulse to explore, to take on challenges.
Exactly. They create this kind of frictionless existence. And friction, ironically, is what creates heat, what allows things to move, to change, to grow.
Without it, we just idle.
It's like an internal starvation in a way. If every little problem gets solved externally by an app, a specialist, an algorithm, then that internal engine, the one driving ambition and curiosity, it starts to idle down.
And eventually rusts.
Yeah. It just doesn't get used.
Okay, so if that's the theory, comfort breeds inertia. How does this actually play out? Let's look at the paradox in action.
Right, how does this tension show up in real life?
The sources suggest the pursuit of ease. It subtly chips away at ambition. You might have big dreams, big
To
goals,
see the potential.
but you always end up retreating to what feels safe, what's familiar.
This is what the sources kind of frame as the relatable scenario hook. You have this vision for something more, maybe,
Yeah.
but you never quite make the leap, because every time you face a choice, a fork in the road, you instinctively take the path of least resistance.
And we tell ourselves it's being sensible, right? Or, work-life balance.
Exactly, it gets disguised as prudence. But underneath, the sources argue it's often fear. Fear of the unknown, just dressed up in sensible professional clothes.
The examples used in the sources really highlight this. Let's take the entrepreneur.
Okay.
They build a decent business, successful, profitable, maybe making, say, 7 figures, pretty good.
Solid achievement. Comfortable.
Right. But then they stop. They
Yeah.
actively avoid scaling it up further.
And the why is key here. It's usually not because the market isn't there or they lack the opportunity.
No, it's the comfort trap again.
It really is.
Yeah.
Scaling means stepping into unfamiliar territory. Big time.
Like, what?
Well, maybe the fear of managing a much bigger team, say 20 people instead of 5, or the messy legal stuff with expanding operations. Losing that direct, hands-on control over every little thing.
That feeling of control is comfortable.
Hugely. So the current state, it's profitable, it's predictable, it feels safe. So they cap their own growth, maybe unconsciously, just to avoid the uncomfortable, messy complexity of that next level.
Choosing security over potentially much greater but uncertain potential.
And that choice becomes their ceiling, defines the limit.
The sources show something really similar with creative types, too.
Ah, yeah, the artist or writer or designer.
They might develop a safe style, something that's popular, gets good feedback, maybe sells well.
They know it works, it's reliable.
So they stick to it, even if part of them wants to experiment.
Because they understand, consciously or not, that real artistic breakthroughs often require risking failure, trying something totally new that might just flop.
Bomb completely.
Yeah, embracing that truly messy, uncomfortable, uncertain space. But when your current thing guarantees a predictable income and positive reinforcement.
Taking that leap feels reckless, irresponsible even.
Right, you prioritize the proven thing, the reliable income stream, over the possibility of something groundbreaking but, completely uncertain, a potential masterpiece versus guaranteed rent.
Wow. So the core insight here is pretty stark then. Breakthroughs in any field, art, business, science, they almost always come from leaning into that messy, uncomfortable unknown.
Consistently, yes.
The moment things feel too easy, too familiar, that's actually a warning sign that progress is slowing down.
Comfort, viewed this way, it really is the enemy of innovation. It preserves the status quo.
It makes perfect sense when you put it like that.
Absolutely. If you look back at major transformations, historically speaking, they're rarely born from smooth sailing.
No crises involved.
Hardly ever. They come from moments where the old, comfortable ways just weren't working anymore. They proved insufficient.
Forcing people to take that uncomfortable leap.
Forcing the leap into uncertainty. That's the paradox, isn't it? The very stability we work so hard to create is often the biggest barrier preventing us from reaching the next level, whatever that level might be for you.
Okay, so the invisible cage is real. We see how it works. But what do we do? If the problem is baked into modern life, we can't just, ditch our smartphones and move to a cabin. That's not realistic for most.
Right, and the sources aren't suggesting that. The solution isn't total abandonment or becoming some kind of, suffering-obsessed ascetic.
Good.
No, the key word that comes up again and again is intentionality.
Intentionality.
We need a way to consciously, systematically bring challenge back into our lives, but on our own terms. It's about reversing the atrophy caused by too much ease, too much frictionlessness.
Rewiring ourselves for growth.
That's it, exactly. By introducing small, manageable doses of discomfort.
And what do these doses look like? The sources mention actionable micro-discomforts.
Yeah, I like that term, micro-discomforts. They're small, almost mundane shifts, but they build real resilience over time.
Give me some examples.
Okay, think really small, consistent things. Actions that just interrupt your autopilot, like intentionally taking the stairs instead of the elevator.
Even when you're tired or carrying stuff.
Especially then, sometimes. Or maybe trying a new type of food, something you suspect you might not even like. Or reading a book from a genre that's totally outside your usual zone,
Just to shake things up.
just to expose yourself to different perspectives, different sensations, or, maybe a bit tougher, initiating a challenging conversation you've been avoiding.
Ooh, yeah, with a colleague or a partner, maybe.
Exactly. Something you know needs addressing but feels awkward, uncomfortable.
What I like about these examples is they aren't huge risks. They're not life-altering decisions.
No, not at all.
They're just slight deviations from the default, from the easy path. But they do require that tiny bit of conscious effort, that nudge.
And that's the mechanism. That's why they work. These micro-discomforts, they function just like weight training for your mind and your spirit.
Okay, the analogy helps.
You don't build physical strength by trying to lift an impossibly heavy weight just once, right?
No, you just hurt yourself.
You build strength, you expand your capacity by using consistent, manageable weights. You need that resistance. That little bit of struggle actually sparks the growth.
Makes sense.
So when you apply that same idea to your life, consistently choosing the slightly less comfortable option, the path with a little more friction, you start to reignite that inner engine, the one that thrives on challenge.
So it's about seeing discomfort not as something to just endure when it happens or avoid at all costs.
Right.
But as necessary training, resistance training for life.
That shift in perspective is fundamental. It changes your whole relationship with difficulty.
Which brings us, I guess, to the final piece, the mindset shift. Because, as you said, the sources are clear. The goal isn't to become some kind of masochist always chasing pain.
Not at all. That's not healthy or productive. It's about cultivating a healthy, proactive relationship with challenge.
Proactive, meaning you seek it out.
Yes, in manageable ways. You don't just wait for life to throw discomfort at you like a layoff or a failure or some crisis.
Which it inevitably will eventually.
Right. Instead, you proactively seek out small challenges, little stretches, because you see them as essential. Essential for continuously expanding your capacity.
Expanding your ability to handle what?
Chaos.
Uncertainty.
Exactly. Your ability to handle complexity, ambiguity, the unexpected. You're building resilience before the storm hits, not just reacting when it does.
That really flips the script, doesn't it? From, I need to avoid this potential pain to stay safe, to,
I need to engage with this manageable resistance to build my future capacity.
wow.
And when you make that deliberate shift in mindset, your whole trajectory can change. The source material really pushes us to pause here and ask. Imagine what you listening could achieve if your basic relationship with discomfort shifted
If you stopped seeing uncertainty purely as a threat.
and started recognizing it as the necessary condition the environment required for any genuine growth to happen.
That feels like the core synthesis, then.
Mm.
Based on everything we've unpacked from the sources today.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest roadblock to you reaching your true potential. It's probably not some external barrier, lack of time, money, connections, whatever you might name,
Much more likely.
to be the self-imposed limits of your own comfort zone.
That really is the
That's-
essential takeaway. It's internal. Now, as you go about your day after listening, maybe mull over this final challenging frame from the source material.
Okay.
What if your comfort zone stopped being a boundary, a wall that contains you?
And instead,
And instead, it started becoming a launching pad, a base camp from which you launch into exploring your greatest potential. That edge between comfort and challenge, that's the place worth exploring next time you feel yourself reaching for that default button.